In the team, right?
You're not coaching the team, but you better make sure you hire somebody that you trust as a parent. For me, so I have an AAU team, just started it.
Trust in which way, though?
In every sense of trust, not only as a basketball knowledge, but being a great example as a man, or a woman that's coaching, just as a human being. I mean, there's some AAU coaches out there that, it's not for the right reasons. And I think AAU is starting to get a little bit better. I think you definitely have to start to look at background checks. Some of these guys got to know CPR. They don't have a clue on just how to coach, how to be around kids. And we've lost that, though, because when I grew up, it was my elementary school coach who taught me how to play, who we just came up to the school and played pickup, junior high, high school, where you can just go play basketball. These kids don't have those opportunities right now.
Hasn't it gotten to the point, Smitty, where it's out of control?
Yes.
The stories over the past 10 to 15 years about AAU basketball and how much it's ruined the youth that are coming up playing the game. How do you rein it in from where it is now? Because you're talking about one solo act, about getting involved as a parent and somebody you trust, but it seems like it's too big.
Well, I will say,
to solve.
I will say, Brent, there's a whole bunch of great stories out there, but this is the coach who's not gathering up all the kind of talent and win national championship. When you have the great coaches and people who care, they're probably not winning the national championship. They're probably not traveling around as much. They have a team, they play locally, or they'll go a couple games here and there, but they're not going to be a team in Atlanta that's going to grab 5 kids from Chicago. So you're not going to win unless you gather so much talent. So then you're not talking about those stories. They don't get glorified, the coaches who are doing it the right way.
And what do you think their motivation is? For the coaches that you do not like in AAU?
Money and greed.
Well, money. Is it positions? Is it?
Yes. Oh yeah. But that's actually part of the money thing. Yeah. You see it all the time, where it's a package deal for the best players. Like you see guys, some of these guys are coaches, and you're like, and listen, I'm involved now that I'm in the college game. I know some of the college coaches, and they always talk about, well, I can't sign this kid because his coach wants a job. And then the shoe companies, they're steering kids to certain schools, which makes it even more corrupt. So it's not a level playing field. Listen, they're going to make money on these kids, but we have a moral obligation to make sure these kids get their education.
I'm not quite sure there's a governing body for the AAU. I mean, is there an oversight that someone oversees? And what's sad about AAU now is when we were all growing up, playing high school basketball was the most important thing. You wanted your high school basketball team to be ranked and to win a state championship and so forth. Now these young blue chip superstars, AAU is the big thing now. That's where most coaches find their talent, is going to these AAU tournaments as opposed to going to your high school and watching you play. Now they're interviewing your AAU coach as opposed to your high school coach. And I think that's what's lost with these young players, is not only are these coaches, AAU coaches, skimming from the top from the shoe company, but they're trying to get as you mentioned, a job at the college level, and then to further advance to try to get to the professional level, all while this young kid suffers
and you
along the way.
And you see high school teams built now, not really on where you're growing up and where your district is, but how your AAU team can within the guidelines say, you live there and you can play there, and it's getting a little crazy. So C-Web, fix it.
That's tough. You got to fix people first. It's a lot of, one thing I think is a result of AAU is bad coaching. And you see guys coming in the NBA, because now if I'm your cousin, I'm Shaq's cousin, hey, big fella, you got to look out for me. Let me coach a team with you, and I know nothing about basketball. That's one of the things I've been seeing, So I think, when I play AAU, and Steve, this is probably maybe true for you coming from Detroit, our coaches were like our father figures. Like, Mr. Montgomery's 83 years old, and Curtis Hervey, those are old guys. So we had to do homework at the house. We would get in trouble. We'd sneak girls over the house. It was like a second parent. And so for a lot of these guys, I see them having buddies. And I don't think it's ever good to be 15 years old with the 25-year-old guy who's your buddy, who doesn't teach you about life, doesn't teach you about the game, but basically is teaching you about the guilt and how to have hanger-ons and all those things, because that's what it becomes. Because some of these guys have no right coaching, some of these guys have no right being around the players. And
well, unfortunately, Ernie, I think it's only going to get worse because, these coaches want so much power. They want so much prestige by using the kids. We all make good points, but, the big companies have a lot to do with it also. Like, you know, like if you're like a local kid in the neighborhood and you're a star and, you know, your AAU coach can get you the new Jordans. That's how the coach is going to lure you in. So now that he got you in, you got the new Jordan. He's not really paying you, but in a sense he is paying you. He give you the new Jordan sweatshirt, he give you the new Jordan. So now, and then college coaches have access to the AAU coaches. And, you know, like you said, they're not going to the high schools anymore. They're going to these AAU coaches. So unfortunately, I don't think it's ever going to get fixed. I think it's going to get worse.
Why does it continue to thrive when it has the obvious flaws and the obvious red flags that jump out at all of y'all?
Because it's all about winning.
Well, I don't think there's a governing body, not that I know of. I coached my son's team for about 3 years, and we would play teams where the same kid who played on a different team earlier is now playing on another team in the afternoon. But the biggest problem I saw was that nobody practiced. Nobody practices in AAU. You just go from one tournament to the next. And I think one of the reasons we don't have any real low post players anymore in the league is because developing a low post game is the hardest thing to do in basketball. You know, you can dribble around and stuff and shoot and work on your game, but to develop a low post game takes a ton of work. And all the guys who are coming up through the system now, they never go through that process of developing a post game. And so all the time spent traveling from one tournament to the next without any practice time, it stunts the growth of the basketball players themselves.